The crowd are on their feet. Eala barely has the energy to get to the net to congratulate her opponent on a classic. Oh, again. Really smart play. Oh, brilliant work by Sasnovich.
Absolutely, let's break this down. It's electric. What you're seeing isn't just a tennis match. It's a psychological battlefield. And the fact that it's happening at the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open, thousands of miles from Ella's home, makes it even more surreal. Here's the cold, hard reality. Aliaksandra Sasnovich is the veteran here. Over a decade on tour, seen every surface, every style, every champion. In the first set, she looked untouchable. 6-2, clinical, dismantling Ella like a master technician. It was supposed to be a textbook victory. On paper, Sasnovich should win this 10 times out of 10. But then, something extraordinary happened. Something intangible. That moment of shift. The air in the arena changed. The crowd wasn't neutral. It was a sea of Filipino fans, thousands of miles from home, channeling unwavering belief into the stands. And in tennis, that belief isn't just noise. It enters the court, enters the player, and suddenly the dynamics change. Ella was no longer just playing tennis. She was absorbing pressure, transforming it, and returning it tenfold. That first set blowout. Race. It was the prelude to one of the most astonishing comebacks of her young career. A display of focus, courage, and mental resilience that even seasoned pros stop and study. This isn't just a match. It's a lesson in sports psychology, in crowd energy, in sheer force of will. Sasnovich brought decades of experience, but Ella brought something the stats and rankings couldn't measure. Momentum fueled by national pride and unshakable self-belief. If you want, I can break down the next sets point by point and show exactly how Ella turned the match on its head, highlighting the shots, strategies, and mental shifts that made this comeback not just possible but historic.
And Sasnovich breaks again. This is ruthless. And 35 minutes. Better. Much better. Again.
Exactly, this is where it gets jaw-dropping. That crowd. Not just spectators. They were an army of belief. Manila transplanted into Abu Dhabi. And that energy didn't just cheer. It became part of the match. You could almost see it in the physics of the court, the rhythm of the players, the subtle tremor of tension in Sasnovich's movements. In the second set, Ella stops reacting and starts dictating. She isn't a 20-year-old underdog anymore. She's a strategic force rewriting the blueprint mid-match. She's taking the ball earlier, closing down angles, and compressing the court like she owns it. Every step forward is a message. She's not just surviving the rally. She's forcing Sasnovich into the uncomfortable, unfamiliar zone. And the shift in Sasnovich is palpable. That first set confidence crumbles into frustration. Frustration morphs into panic. You can see it in her posture, her swing timing, the micro-hesitations. Ella doesn't just play her opponent. She plays the mental battlefield, channeling every ounce of crowd energy, every fan cheer, into precision aggression. This is more than tennis. It's psychological warfare at 45 miles per hour. And Ella, barely old enough to rent a car, is writing the lesson for the next generation. If you want, I can break down exactly how Ella used tactics, footwork, and anticipation to hijack Sasnovich's rhythm in this second set. It's fascinating stuff, almost like watching a masterclass in real-time adaptation. Do you want me to go there?
Wide. Oh, that's magnificent. And Sasnovich with the first mini break. How did Alexandra Eala?
Exactly, that's the heart of it. What you're describing isn't just skill. It's psychological domination. Ella is playing like a pure next-gen competitor, fearless and unhinged by expectation. At the top 100, like you said, the physical tools are almost identical: serve speed, court coverage, stroke mechanics, but the difference is belief. Ella has absolute faith she belongs, and that belief translates into action that Sasnovich can't predict or counter. The backhand down the line, the reckless aggression, it's calculated chaos. She knows that by forcing Sasnovich into extended rallies, pushing her legs and lungs to the limit, she's attacking not just the points but the mind. The moment Sasnovich looks at her box and realizes Ella won't relent, that's a mental knockout. That hesitation is all Ella needs, and she exploits it relentlessly, turning the veteran's confidence into cracks in the armor. And the crowd, the Filipino supporters in Abu Dhabi, aren't passive observers. They're an invisible coach, a force multiplier. Every cheer, every chant, every surge of energy is absorbed by Ella, fueling her aggression and making her opponent feel like the court itself is against her. This is why the next-gen mentality matters. It's not about waiting for the perfect ball or playing safe. It's about forcing the opponent out of their comfort zone and never giving them a moment to breathe. Ella embodies that beautifully. If you want, I can break down the exact point-by-point strategy she used in that middle set turnaround, showing how she turned a 6-2 deficit into a psychological and tactical masterclass. Do you want me to do that? Exactly. That's the essence of next-gen tennis magic. Ella isn't just hitting balls. She's hitting fear straight into her opponent's mind. That second set tiebreak wasn't just points on a scoreboard. It was a psychological siege. Every swing, every step, every aggressive line shot is pressure applied directly to Sasnovich's confidence. The thing about momentum in tennis is that it's viral. It spreads from the player to the crowd, from the crowd back to the player, and suddenly the court itself feels alive. Ella thrives in that chaos. She feeds off the noise, the energy, the belief of the fans, turning it into precision and aggression. Meanwhile, Sasnovich, despite her decade of experience, is playing catch-up in someone else's storm. It's not lack of skill. It's the human mind under relentless pressure. That reaction, the scream, the fist pump, isn't just celebration. It's territorial marking. Ella is signaling to the tour. I belong here, I am unstoppable, and I will rewrite the hierarchy. And the fans amplify that message, turning a single match into a statement to the entire WTA circuit. If you want, I can break down how Ella's tactical shift in that second set exploited Sasnovich's weaknesses point by point, showing exactly why the veteran cracked under the onslaught. Do you want me to do that? Exactly. That's the crux of what makes Alexandra Eala so terrifying on court. That tiebreak wasn't just a score. It was a pressure cooker, a mental battlefield where every point was a psychological duel. Ella's resilience isn't measured in speed or power. It's measured in nerve, composure, and relentless focus under absolute chaos. When Sasnovich starts looking for an escape, that's when Ella shifts from reactive to proactive. She's no longer playing shots. She's dictating the mental narrative of the match. That's why in individual sports like tennis, the tiniest mental edge becomes everything. There's no hiding, no clock to run down, no teammate to cover a mistake. And Eala thrives there because she doesn't just play points, she owns them. The army in the stands, the national pride, the roar of the Filipino fans. It's not just energy, it's a force multiplier. Eala channels it, Sasnovich gets drowned by it. That's why momentum in tennis isn't linear. It's psychological physics, and Eala just proved she's a master physicist. If you want, I can break down the exact moments in that tiebreak where Eala seized control point by point, showing exactly how she turned mental pressure into physical dominance. Do you want me to do that? Exactly. This is the defining moment in Eala's evolution. That second set in Abu Dhabi wasn't just a swing of the racket. It was a declaration of identity. She didn't just fight Sasnovich. She rewrote the expectations of what it means to be a next-gen player. That scar tissue you mentioned. It's mental armor forged in the heat of pressure, the kind that lasts a career. It's fascinating because even if she lost the third set, that second set alone sent a psychological signal to the entire tour. I belong here. I am untouchable when I choose to be. Moments like this aren't about points, they're about ownership of the game. Eala absorbed the veteran's power, converted it into momentum, and turned it back on her opponent. That's rare. That's elite. And yes, the crowd was part of the equation. That army of Filipino fans wasn't background noise. It was an emotional amplifier, a force Eala plugged into. Every stomp, every chant, every roar became a pulse she could ride. This is why momentum in tennis isn't a metric on a stats sheet. It's a living, breathing phenomenon that Eala harnessed like a maestro conducting an orchestra. If you want, I can break down her footwork and shot selection in that second set point by point, showing exactly how she turned panic into dominance. It's the kind of analysis that explains why this moment will echo through her entire career. Do you want me to do that?